Hey guys, and welcome to the very first video on this channel. My name is Gage, and I'm going to be talking to y'all about all sorts of things. But today, I wanted to focus on something that I think everybody can kind of relate to. You see, when you're walking down the street, 99% of people have on some sort of smartwatch or fitness tracker, such as like a Pixel, an Apple Watch, or a Fitbit. And today, I wanted to look at how accurate are those actually at predicting how many calories you burned. They all give you that measurement, but how true is it? Now, to do that, I conducted a little experiment. For 3 months, I tracked my weight every single morning at the same time every day. And I also tracked how many calories Fitbit said I burned. And I also tracked how many calories that I ate. To calculate how many I ate, I weighed every single ingredient in all my foods. And I know that sounds horrible, but bear with me, it's worth it for science. Now, the first question you may have is, what are calories? But the second question, how do these watches actually calculate your calorie burn? Well, all that can be boiled down to one equation, and it takes two things into account. First, it calculates your BMR, and we're going to talk about that a little bit here in a minute. And second, it calculates your active calories. So how many calories you burn from, being active. But I want to focus on BMR first. Now, what is BMR? BMR is basal metabolic rate. That means basal metabolic rate is the amount of calories that you burn at rest, just, existing, being alive. Height, weight, sex, age, body composition, all these are different things that play a role in contributing to your BMR. For example, males of the same age, height, and weight as their female counterparts are going to have a little bit higher BMR. And also, the more you weigh now and the younger you are, the higher your BMR is going to be. And this is because your body needs more energy to maintain that current weight. Now, muscle mass, genetics, whether you're sick or not, your diet, all these things can also influence your BMR. The fitness trackers that we wear on our wrists usually only use the height, weight, age, and sex to calculate this number. And because of this, your BMR could actually be higher or lower. Now that we understand how fitness trackers and smartwatches calculate your BMR, what about the other part of the equation? How do they track how much calories you burn based on your activity? Simply put, when we exercise, our heart rate goes up. And when we're at rest, our heart rate goes down to our resting heart rate. And fitness trackers can use this information to track our calorie burn. So with all that being said, how accurate are fitness trackers? To find out, I needed to put myself in a caloric deficit for some period of time and test what my actual weight was versus what Fitbit thought it might be. Now, the spreadsheet may look a little intimidating at first, but there's only a couple things that you actually need to worry about. I kind of nerded out when I was making this, and I went way overboard on everything. To find my actual weight loss, I weighed every single morning after using the bathroom, and I averaged that weight over the span of a week, and then I subtracted that number from the previous week. And finding what Fitbit actually thought my weight was going to be was actually even easier than that. All I did was I took my calories eaten for one day and subtracted that from my calories burned for that day. And I took that number and divided it by 3,500, which is 1 pound of fat. Now, this is assuming that I'm only losing fat and not losing muscle too, because muscle and fat have a different amount of calories that are stored in them. So in order to minimize my muscle loss, I also kept my protein around 1.2 to 1.3 grams of protein per pound of body weight per day. Now, as you can see, there is quite a big difference in percentage points between the Fitbit and what the real world said. And I did leave the last week out because that was just some sort of statistical anomaly, an outlier, if you will. So one thing that I noticed I was doing wrong about halfway through the experiment is that I was weighing all of the meat post-cooking, and that can skew the results by a lot. Now I know that you should multiply by turkey or chicken, one of those two, by 1.33 cooked weight to get your actual raw weight from the beginning. That's a rough estimate, but it'll usually get you in the ballpark. But I was not doing that during the experiment. And so that could also be why the calories are a little bit skewed. So there are several things that I messed up doing this, but I've learned from it, and next experiment I'm going to fix it. The most important number that I want you to take away from this, though, is the average daily calorie discrepancy. Now, the Fitbit Charge 5, which is what I have, you can see that was about 300, which seems pretty insignificant. But if you really think about it, that 300 calories, you're only one bagel away from being in a calorie surplus rather than a calorie deficit. All in all, I thought this was a really good experiment. And the one thing I will say about the Fitbit is that the trend line actually fit the data that I was expecting. So I think it is a good tool for estimating if you're on the right track. I'm sure you can probably incorporate this into your training and your goals to try and meet those quicker. which is what I plan on doing in the future. And that's what I'm doing right now. Right now, I'm trying to maintain a surplus of about 200 to 300 calories a day. And I use my Fitbit number that it tells me that I burn, and I add 200 to 300 on that of what I can eat every day. So some days I might burn less, some days I might burn more. So I'll eat more that day, or I'll eat less that day, and stuff like that. So I do still incorporate this into my training, and I haven't had any adverse weight gain because of it. So I think it's actually fairly accurate from personal experience. Now, this is data aside, this is just my own personal view, but that's how I see it. But what I learned with this experiment is that we really need to pay attention to the little things, because something seemingly small now may have a huge impact on your future. So with that being said, I hope you learned something, and I'm gonna go have that bagel now.